us today. It's a beautiful Saturday, and I know people are looking forward to enjoying this Saturday. So we're going to get, like she said, this is loaded with information. We hope to teach you a lot of things out there that escape traditional medicine. And this is bothering a lot of people. There's people literally dying every day because they don't know how to take care of themselves properly. And that's the whole purpose of this empowerment series, is to give the power back to the person. Because let's be honest, only you have the power to regenerate and to repair and to heal. So the more tools you have in your toolbox, the better. Now before I get started, what you guys like to know probably, I like to provoke thought. So I'd like to ask a question. What's the value of a doctor's visit? What's the value of a doctor's visit? That's kind of a tough question to answer, right? Well, the value of a doctor's visit is $0. $0. You can certainly pay $300, $500, $1,000 for an hour of a doctor's time. Okay? There's fertility clinics that won't even let you in the door without paying up to $15,000 up front. And then they'll see if they can help you. So, the value of a doctor's visit is $0 unless that person takes action. Unless that person takes action. Okay? So just keep that in mind. Because what we want to do is, let's say a person sits with me for an hour and they leave and they go home and they implement no changes in their life. The value of that is $0. The multiplier of that value is $0. If we somehow increase superior thinking, give them a better mindset, give them some wisdom, because let's be honest, health is not knowledge. Health is wisdom. Everyone has knowledge. If you're paying attention to what's going on and you read some health articles and you look at the headlines, people have knowledge, right? Everyone knows that smoking cigarettes is bad. People know that fast food is probably not ideal. People should know that stress is unhealthy when it's prolonged. That's knowledge, and it tends to kind of float around, you know? Wisdom is actually connecting the dots, making the links connect, so therefore you have the proper steps to take action. Does that make sense? So our next class, 6 of 12, like she said, is going to be at the Prairie Village Community Center. That is on Mission and 77th. Okay, it's right next, you can't miss it. We're trying to work a little closer to our community area. This place has been great, but we want to work in the Cornice Square area a little more. And like she said, it's going to be a little earlier. But the topic, preventing cancer with nutrition, this is going to be huge. Okay? We need 91 essential nutrients every day. And 2/3 of those essential nutrients are minerals. And our soil is depleted of minerals. So Tiffany and I are working on the sidelines and trying to put together a very cost-effective shake that has no synthetic vitamins in it. It's all real food and minerals. And you can do this once a day and you'll know you're covered. Okay? But we'll go into some depths about leaky gut. I'm going to go further in depth about something called Candida albicans. That is a yeast. Okay? We're going to see a little more about it later, but just for a heads up, it's been documented since 1804 as a cause of cancer. Isn't that something? So we'll go into some details about Candida a little more on the next talk. Okay? So I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about myself. My wife and I founded Back to Nature Lifestyle Medicine as a way to kind of showcase and introduce functional medicine to people that are not used to seeing it. I'm a best practitioner. We've helped a lot of people with our concierge membership plan, with thyroid, with autoimmune, with irritable bowel, with headaches, with a number of illnesses. And many times they were told that there was no answer for them. They would have to take medication the rest of their life. And what we try to do is teach you the importance of nutrition and teach you the importance of healthy living. And that's very dynamic. You don't get health eating salads and jogging every day. It's much more than that. And what we do is we strive to educate the community. That's our whole purpose, is to give power back to people so they know how to take care of themselves. And I'm very proud to announce Tiffany and I are now working on our PhD in clinical nutrition. So the more we learn, the more we want to make available to you. We're always in a state of growth. This is our passion. We can't unplug from it. We go home, we decide we want to, watch a little TV. Halfway through the movie, we're watching videos trying to learn more knowledge, okay? More wisdom. So upcoming events, this is going to be a limit of 6 people, and I think there's a few slots open, so, make that reservation. This is going to be at our house, and the whole purpose for this is going to be to decrease your toxicity load at your house, okay? Replacing chemicals, replacing perfumes, replacing cleaning supplies with essential oils. A lot of these chemicals are very toxic and they have a profound effect on the way our health works. And what we want to do is try to introduce safe alternatives that are very cost effective.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be fun. So let's stay connected. I'd like if you guys go to our Facebook page and like us. And the reason why is because, like I mentioned, we're always in a state of growth. I'm literally putting posts up every morning that has something to do with educational, the way nutrition works, the importance of stress management, the importance of grounding, the importance of gratitude. I mean, all of these play into health. Like I said, it's not just exercising and eating right. It's much more to it. So, if you like us on Facebook, you will get lots of exposure, lots of educational pieces every day. So for those of you who don't know, our location is at Cornish Square. It's right on the corner of 83rd and Somerset in the Executive Building. So this workshop will not change your life unless you're willing to make a change yourself. So I do want to review our personal and practice policies and hope these are in line with you, okay? There are no get healthy overnight schemes, and we certainly don't promise that. Your results are based on your efforts, your compliance, and having a realistic timeline. The timeline is very important when it comes to your journey to health. Okay? A lot of times the way I use this as an example is if you were going to drive to Florida, okay, say you decided you want to drive to Florida and you got your car ready, tires are aired up, fuel tank's ready to go, your bags are packed, and you get into the vehicle to leave and you're on the way there, and in your mind you're thinking it's only a 2-hour trip, when in reality it's a 16-hour trip, you're going to be in trouble. Okay? So having a realistic timeline is very important. Sometimes people can be on the right path, but they lose patience and give up. Okay? Most people who embark on journeys when it comes to their health fail. And there's very specific reasons why, and we'll look into those. Our core values. These are our core values. These are undeniable, deep-rooted truths about our practice. We don't treat the patient. We don't treat thyroid problems. We don't treat autoimmune. We don't treat diabetes. What we do is we co-create health. Because too many times people come in and they are stuck on one particular diagnosis. My thyroid's the problem. My thyroid's the problem. I've got diabetes. I have irritable bowel. And these things never come in isolation. It's not that simple. There's no disease known that presents itself in isolation. There's always many other factors going on. Uncontrolled stress, toxic environment, not practicing gratitude, having poor relationships with people. All this will contribute to that. And the nutritional aspects are a big part of it, but they're only a part of it. You ever met anyone that eats perfect? They eat kale, they eat salads, and they always feel like crap. They're giving their bodies the wrong signal. Last, patient always determines the outcome. It's not the practitioner, it's the patient who determines the outcome. Because like I mentioned before, only you have the power in your body to repair, to regenerate, and to heal. And across the board, I don't care what kind of doctor it is, whether it's a dentist or a psychologist, it's ultimately up to the client to walk that path of journey to get their health back. And our job is not to create that path. Our job is to help you navigate it. by simply removing the things that maybe you weren't aware of that's there. So, I mentioned that most people embark on journeys fail, right? A big reason they fail is because they don't have a realistic goal. A realistic goal, something long-term, should be very important to have and establish. A good goal is what is this illness, what is this disease keeping you from doing in life? What's something you'd like to do that you're unable to do right now? I had one patient who said, I want to drive. She legally couldn't drive. That was her goal. Fantastic goal. She's driving within 5 months, right? That was a good goal. We worked towards it, okay? The question that baffles people the most is, what would you do if you did not have this problem? If you woke up and you felt amazing and you had energy and everything was great, what would you do with your life? Now, a goal is important, but also having a realistic starting point. You guys use GPS on the way here? You guys notice if you use GPS, you can't enter just a rough address. You have to enter an exact address. An exact address. Same with a starting point. A starting point is an accurate and honest assessment of yourself. You've got to look at yourself and determine the quality of my life is diminishing. I want to make changes. I want answers. Okay? That's only a realistic starting point starts there. And then when you have a goal in mind, now you have a blueprint for success. And if you don't have either of those, if you're not honest with yourself and thinking, I need to make changes, you're going to have a rough time with that health journey. Does all that make sense? So this is called Allegory of the Cave. I know many people have seen this already, but just bear with me. Okay? This is out of Plato's book, The Republic, and this chapter is called Allegory of the Cave. And I use this as an analogy for what it's like for Tiffany and I at work every day. We're living in an era of spin. More and more people are confused more about their health than ever before. They don't know what to do. There's lots of knowledge floating around and all these self-proclaimed experts, but people have no idea what to do to actually get their health back. Or the importance of all the things I mentioned. So, use your imagination and follow along with me for a little bit. Right here you'll see some slaves, okay? They're shackled to a wall, and then here are shadowy figures displayed on the wall. As you can see here, there's some props. There's some props being held by some puppet masters. And you ascend out of this cave, there's a fire. Now there's a gentleman climbing out, and then there's a guy out here, outside the cave completely. Okay? These people are born slaves. This is all they know their whole life. All they see are these shadow figures every day. It's the only culture they have, and it's the only religion they're ever exposed to, and it's the only thing they think is reality. Seeing the shadows and hearing the whispers of the people on the other side of the wall. Tiffany and myself, as well as select other patients in here, you, Carl, Kara, you, we've all broken these shackles. Okay, we've broken our shackles, and we've climbed out. And once we get outside this cave, only at that point can you look back into that cave and realize, all these shadows I've seen my whole life are nothing but shadows. Nothing but a reflection by the fire here. And there's birds, and there's ocean, there's trees, there's thunderstorms. All these things that I never thought were real. And only can you realize that when you get outside the cave. Now imagine the hardship it is to climb back into this cave, go down here where these slaves are, and try to tell them. These shadows you've seen your whole life are not real. These are a reflection put on by puppet masters with a fire. I mean, there's so much outside this cave, you have to see it for yourself. Now, majority of people are going to say, these shadows are real enough for me. This is my reality, and I'm seeing this. This is fine for me. A minority of people are going to want to break these shackles and see what else is out there. So during this presentation, I'm going to encourage you to break your shackles, try to free your mind a little bit, okay, and think outside the box. So my next question comes, what are these shadows? Right here, all of the mess you see on the TV, the media, all the political turmoil, okay? All the American Medical Association, Monsanto. Don't Google your symptoms. Please do not Google your symptoms. People come in thinking they're dying of lupus and everything else, and it can really put some fear into people. So don't Google your symptoms. A while back, I had a picture of a tribe, okay, in here, and the reason why is because I think it's a good time to bring it up now. You know what they've done recently? They took an iPad into Africa, all right, and they filmed this unreached tribe. This tribe has never seen anyone, ever. So they film this tribe with an iPad, and then they take it to another tribe, completely unreached, okay? This tribe has never seen anyone before. It doesn't know what's outside the world. They've got the ear, the big loops. They got the, the weird stripes. They communicate with clicks and sounds and things like that. They go out there and they film 9 tribes completely unreached. And you know what they did? They showed the next tribe what the previous tribe looked like. That's all they did. And guess what the tribe's reaction was the minute they saw this other tribe? They made fun of them. They made fun of them. They thought they were the goofiest looking people they'd ever seen, and they looked just as ridiculous. Instead of having a loop here, they had one in the lip. Instead of having a stripe here, they had a stripe over here. So where am I going with this? And these people had no idea to make fun of this group of people because they had never done anything like this before in their life. So what my point is human nature is naturally a little repellent against things that aren't like you. You're naturally a little repellent against things that aren't like you. And this media plays right into that. The more they spin this pot and try to keep you confused and try to keep you angry, do not fall for it. So let's get into this talk now, okay, and learn what we're here to learn so we can get outside and enjoy this day. Due to the relevance of this time frame, I thought this was an important topic to bring up, okay? The one day you should never go to a hospital. Remember this. August 1st. If you're booked to attend a hospital due to a procedure, and I do want you guys to remember this, there's no such thing as a minor procedure. There's no such thing as a minor surgery. Doesn't exist. If they're cutting you open, they're cutting you open. If you're booked to attend a hospital due to a procedure, try to avoid August 1st. The first Wednesday in August is known as the killing season. It's when medical students first arrive for their day as junior doctors. Okay? All the new kids arrive. It's interestingly associated with a 6% increase in deaths in the ward. I did not make this up. It comes right out of literature. So, it behooves you to be on your toes and be aware of these dates.
Come to our office on this week, don't go to the hospital, come to us.
Unless it's an emergency.
Yeah, an emergency.
If you're spurting blood, don't come to me. I can't. Acupuncture can't do anything to that. A Canadian government commission has concluded that hospitals are more dangerous than mines and factories. Again, right out of the literature. This is out of the Lancet. Lancet is peer-reviewed daily. They're a very respectable scientific organization. This is their work, not mine. French researchers have discovered that only 1 out of every 24,433 adverse reactions are reported. Now, you could not make that up if you tried to. Again, right out of the literature. 24,433, only 1 is reported. I'm curious on how many reactions there really are going on. So, this will help you understand a little bit more about the bugs and why it's important to understand about these microbes. The human body is essentially a germ factory, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. The average healthy human harbors more than 10,000 different species of microbes that together maintain microbial balance and provide vibrant health. One of the frustrating things in practice is seeing people who continuously sterilize themselves with their Purell hand sanitizers and their antibiotic soaps and their chlorine and their shots and all this stuff. People have made a mess of themselves. What they found is there's 10 microbes. There's 10 bacteria for one cell of your body. 10 germs for one cell of your body. And we're made of 70 trillion cells. I'm not a numbers guy, but that's a huge number of microbes. In fact, less than 1% of our genetics are even expressed. When you look at a person, you're not looking at their genes, you're looking at what their microbes are expressing. The human genome alone is 22,000. That's what we all have as human beings. 22,000. A rice plant has 65,000. So it's got triple the number of genetics that we do. When they count all these microbes that are involved and around us, on our bodies, in our orifices, mostly concentrated in the large intestines of the gut, that genetic expression goes up to 8 million. So most of your genetics don't even belong to you. So to see these people sterilize themselves and sterilize their kids, Tiffany and I can spot them across the room because they have their nebulizers, they have all their inhalers, they've got asthma, they're allergic to everything, and it's because they've been completely sterilized. Be aware of that, okay? We have dirty kids come in, and they're always healthier than the clean kids. You know they had to get rid of a Purell in a number of hospitals? Because they found that the germs that actually grew on your hands were far more dangerous than the ones you were washing off. So those microbes are there to keep the bad ones in check. So there's good bugs and there's bad bugs. How many times do I refer to the digestive tract as a garden? It's just like a garden, right? And like a garden, you cannot negotiate with it. These microbes inside of your gut, you must think of them as another organ system. That's how important they are. They're a whole other organ system that has its own function. You've got to think of them as that organ. So, just like a good garden, you can't negotiate with. It has to have sunlight, has to have water, has to have the right nutrients. It also has to have love. That's probably why I don't do well with plants. I do great with my kids. I get along fantastic with my children, but plants tend to die around me. So, these are your seeds in your garden. These are your seeds. The probiotics. I would not recommend buying probiotics at stores. A lot of times what the research is showing that there's a very high percentage of those that don't even survive the stomach acid. And additionally, it might not even contain what the bottle says it contains. That's very common in stores. Okay? If I was a little handier, I'd probably make some kefir, which I don't. Raw sauerkraut, kombucha, live active cultured yogurt. This is full of your healthy microbes. This supports that healthy microbe balance you have. So here's this soil. This is your soil here. This is what lays the foundation for these seeds to flourish. Onion, dandelion greens, garlic, mushroom, maple syrup, bananas, right? Yum. Asparagus. So you've got to have a healthy foundation for your garden to take effect. You need to eat vegetables. And when it comes to that, you've got to make sure you chew those vegetables appropriately. So here's the bad guys. These are opportunistic. Your immune system is incredible. It's an incredible bioenergetic sensory mechanism, and it's made to deal with these kind of critters. But if there's a drop in your immune system, if you're exposed to too many toxic chemicals under the sink at your house, if you're exposed to unhealthy relationships, stress, deadlines at work, all those things, okay, can make a drop in your immune system, and it actually will give life to these. That's when these guys can come out. Okay? E. coli. How many times do we hear in the news about somebody getting food poisoning involved with E. coli? When it gets really bad, E. coli can tear the digestive tract up. Okay? The more blood you poop, the more E. coli I know you have. When you hear it on the news a lot, they're talking about E. coli this, E. coli that. What they're really saying is somebody had a poop sandwich or a poop salad. You got the wrong stuff in your food and you got sick. H. pylori is a bacteria that I've even seen in healthy people. H. pylori is responsible for a lot of digestive problems, ulcers, if it's linked to cancer. It also causes rosacea. Rosacea is it looks like a man put blush on, red cheeks. When you see people that have red blemishes coming out of their face, okay, bright red nose, and you can spot them, and you just go into a Walmart and every third person is going to look that way. That is strictly from the infections in their gut, and this bacteria is the one that's responsible for causing that. And then we'll get into some more interesting yeast, fungus, and candida. These are your stealth infections. Parasites, and out of all the stealth infections, the viruses are the ones that are absolutely most frightening to me. And we'll get into why. If I can flip this thing. Here we go. So like I mentioned, they're opportunistic. They wait for your immune system to be weakened. So what weakens your immune system? Antibiotics. Okay? Ibuprofen. This is all your non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. You know, ibuprofen, Motrin, aspirin, Tylenol. These turn your immune system off. I posed a question the other day, and hardly anyone got it right. Another doctor that is very respected, very smart, he's the one that got it right. What drug is more responsible? I'm talking about single drug. What single drug is more responsible for deaths than the Vietnam War? No. That's a good guess. Tylenol is the #1 cause of acute liver failure, though. So, what was that?
Aspirin.
No. Vioxx. Vioxx absolutely turns the immune system off. You can Google it, and the first thing you see is it'll tell you about the number of people that died compared to Vietnam War. It's a very powerful non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug. Okay? But I've heard of people having their duodenum rupture. Okay? How's a duodenum rupture? That's solid muscle, right? Well, I've heard of that rupturing because they're taking too many of these medications that turn their immune system off, and it catches up to you. Okay? Poisoned water, food, air. Not here in America, right? Stress, prolonged stress. Okay? Cosmetic toxins. This is your perfumes, your colognes, okay? Your makeup. Okay? A lot of these things are not regulated, and they're full of chemicals that are oftentimes banned in Europe. I've looked at 36 lawsuits over the last few months, and all these things contain chemicals that have poisoned people, and they happen to be married to a big shot, and he has them investigated, and they find, hey, these are full of chemicals that are banned. So you want to be aware of what you're putting on your body. I always ask people, would you be comfortable spraying cologne in your mouth? No. Well, if you spray it on your skin, you're still absorbing it. How those nicotine patches work, right? Your body absorbing it. Chronic fear. You watch enough of those shadows on the TV, you're going to be ticked off all the time. Chronic fear. Okay? Household cleaning supplies. Tap water, fast food and soda, blood transfusion. If you have a blood transfusion anytime in your life, you're going to be completely different forever. Okay? Just be aware of those things. Immunizations, operations, toxic relationships. Toxic relationships. If you have friends or family that don't make you feel appreciated, okay, that don't, make you feel happy, that's going to have an effect on your health and the way your body functions. I always tell people you need to audit your friends. You need to find someone that makes you feel, happy, not the one that just sits there and complain and talks about your shirt and talks about this, doesn't make you feel good. That's going to have a profound effect on your ability to heal. So now let's look closer at these bugs. Okay? Bacteria versus virus. What's the difference? Bacteria is a single-celled organism right here. Okay? Single-celled organism. It cannot penetrate the membrane of the cell. It cannot get inside there. So it stays in the tissues and it stays in the blood. Now, virus, on the other hand, is not really alive. It's a particle. It's a chemical zombie. Okay? What it does is it actually does penetrate the cell membrane, goes deep into the nucleus of the cell, and will hijack the mechanism responsible for cell duplication. So where the cell makes more cells continuously over and over again, a virus will get in there and hijack that and make more viruses instead of more of you. Now, my whole point of this is bacteria cannot get into the cell, so that makes antibiotics totally useless when it comes to viruses. Antibiotics cannot enter the cell. So the effectiveness of antibiotics depend on how they are used, how well the antibiotic is managed in clinical practice, and outside of it. 70% of antibiotics used in America, literally tens of millions of pounds, are used in animal feed. Right out of the Lancet. So whenever people come in and they tell me, they reassure me, I don't take antibiotics, I have to say, yes you do. They're in you, they're in everyone. The European Union has banned routine use of antibiotics in animal feed years ago because of the substantial evidence about its drug-resistant consequences for humans. Now, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration is recommending the same for the United States for the same reason. But for now, the practice continues. Right out of Time magazine. Oops. Not very smart with technology. Yep, Time magazine.
That was 7 years ago. Hasn't that changed?
Not as far as I know. As far as I know. Oops, sorry about that, folks. What'd you do? What did you do? So antibiotics are not always the answer. They don't fight infection caused by viruses like colds, flu, most sore throats, bronchitis, many other sinus and ear infections. They will not fully cure the infection. What the literature is showing is it actually drives the infection deeper. It will not prevent other people from being infected. It will not necessarily make you or your child feel better. May cause unnecessary side effects. May contribute to antibiotic-resistant mutated bacteria, which are able to resist the effects of antibiotics and can continue to drive the infection. Okay? Viral sinusitis, viral headaches, dry coughs, okay? Everyone is being overprescribed antibiotics today. They don't test and they don't look for viruses in patients. Traditional medicine does not, because there's non-effective treatment for viruses. So why would they look for something they can't treat? Everyone's being overprescribed antibiotics. And when they don't work, of course, the next step is your steroids.
Are we allowed to ask questions as we step forward?
Yeah, go right ahead. For you, anything.
Are they still giving teenagers antibiotics for acne? I remember.
Absolutely. I had somebody ask me a question the other day. I asked somebody, messaged me the other day and said, hey, do you do anything for acne? I've got a child that is very bad. And I said, look, are they eating sugar? Are they eating this, this, and this? Yes. Okay. Acne, more often than not, comes from poor gut health. Okay. Now, if it's a child going through puberty and you see the acne start popping up, that's a vitamin E deficiency. When the child, boy or girl, is going through puberty, their gonads all of a sudden require much more vitamin E. So if they're not supplementing correctly, vitamin E that's used to maintain your skin maintenance is going to be got pushed somewhere else, because the genitals need that for development. So now they've got less vitamin E in their skin, and they'll have acne. Okay? Cystic acne, the big boils that you see, that is from parasites. Okay? So, vitamin D and respiratory infections. Studies have shown there's a link between vitamin D levels and risk of getting a respiratory infection. People with low levels have a higher chance of developing a respiratory infection. Remember this, okay? Vitamin D is your #1 preventative of the flu, upper respiratory infections, colds, cuts, cancer, and has the biggest bang for buck vitamin you can do. It's also responsible for all your antimicrobial activity. Now when I mean antimicrobial, I mean the bad guys. When you look at natural alternatives, when you look at herbs, when you look at nutrition, and things that are supposed to be more natural, the whole purpose of those is because it supports those microbes. And the Chinese have known about this forever. In fact, Western medicine philosophy is kill all evil. Kill all evil. They want to banish everything. Eastern medicine philosophy is kill all evil, but support the good. See the difference? Support the good. So, vitamin D is also very effective for seasonal depressive disorder because it plays a key role in your precursors for serotonin. A lot of times people can go out in the sun, they get too much vitamin D, they'll deplete their calcium reserves, and they can bring life to these viruses. We'll get into that a little bit later, okay? So, overuse of these antibiotics, Kara, where are you at? This one's for you, okay? Overuse of these antibiotics has been linked to antibiotic-resistant infections such as MRSA, VIRI, and the potential life-threatening diarrhea caused by Colostrum difficile, or C. diff. Pay attention to this, okay? According to the research, being prescribed, I don't even know how to say that word, but that's a Z-Pak. That is an antibiotic right there. Being prescribed this antibiotic is the most important risk factor for developing Colostrum difficile associated diarrhea. This stuff is very serious. You want to be aware of this. C. diff comes from hospitals. C. diff comes from hospitals. It's normally there. It's like a hornet nest that's not bothering anyone. You go in going under antibiotic treatment. It's like you've kicked that hornet nest. And what C. diff will do is it destroys the gut lining. It goes after it, causes massive amounts of inflammation in the gut and severe diarrhea. I know a woman 3 years ago. Tiffany and I were talking, and it's the same woman. She knew. Okay? I know a woman about 3 years ago went into the hospital for pneumonia. Okay? They gave her antibiotics. She got C. diff from these antibiotics, went septic, went to the intensive care, and later died. Mid-50s. How old she was. This stuff is very serious. You want to be on top of this. You want to stay out of hospitals as much as you can too. Simple procedures aren't that simple anymore. Infection rates are so high nowadays, and we're going to see some more literature here in a second, okay? Are you having fun yet? People go in the hospitals and you'll automatically be placed on an antibiotic whether you have an infection or not because the infection rates are so high. I have another doctor in the room and she agrees. She's nodding her head. Deadly hospital infections will rise unless changes are made. Each year, 650,000 Americans will develop infections during a typical hospital stay. 100,000 die as a result. Now pay attention to this. This is very important right here. Norway conquers infection by cutting the use of antibiotics. Acre University Hospital is a dingy place to heal. The floors are streaked and scratched. A light layer of dust coats the blood pressure monitors. A faint stench of urine and bleach wafts from a pile of bed sheets dropped in a corner. Look closer, however, and this place is pristine. There's no sign of dangerous, contagious staph infection that has been responsible for killing tens of thousands of patients in the most sophisticated hospitals in Europe, North America, and Asia last year, soaring virtually unchecked. The reason? Norwegians stopped using antibiotics. They stopped using antibiotics, and they beat our most pristine hospitals in the world. Fleming's warning about antibiotic overuse. Alexander Fleming's the man who discovered penicillin. December 11th, 1945. At the end of his Nobel Prize lecture, Alexander Fleming sounded a warning. He could already see the future of antibiotic misuse. There is a danger, he said, that the ignorant man may easily underdose himself and be exposing his microbes to non-lethal quantities of the drug and make them resistant. We are living in that period right now. Each year we spend billions of dollars developing new antibiotics, and what's going on is people are actually having a much more adverse reaction from the antibiotics than they are to the infection themselves. And whenever you go after an infection over and over and over with antibiotics, your body never has a chance to learn and deal with the infection properly. You're wiping those microbes out. You're wiping your genes out. You don't want to do that. So look at this evolution of a bug here. 1928, penicillin discovered by Alexander Fleming. This is World Health Organization, okay, is the source. You can look all this stuff. 1945, right after his Nobel Prize lecture, he sounds a warning. 1946, 14% of hospitals are resistant. 1 year after his talk. Now let's look at 1990. Wake up, 1990, 95% resistant in most hospitals. So let's get into these more frightening ones. Epstein-Barr virus, okay, also known as infectious mononucleosis, mono. Associated with the following forms of cancer: Hodgkin's lymphoma, Burkitt's lymphoma, nose cancer. That's what nasopharyngeal carcinoma. Associated with the following autoimmune conditions: dermatomyositis, rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, lupus. Sjogren's syndrome is an autoimmune that has dry eyes, dry nose, dry sinuses. Many people suffer from that, and nobody knows why, and they're constantly watering it. And what happens is their body's actually attacking the sinuses. Dry eyes, dry mouth, chronic fatigue. These are all associated with Epstein-Barr virus, okay? Epstein-Barr lives in the liver. That's key to remember. It lives and lies dormant in the liver. If you test positive for Epstein-Barr virus, and a lot of you do, there's a 3-fold increase in you developing multiple sclerosis later in life. Okay? 100% of people that have multiple sclerosis have Epstein-Barr. These viruses love to attack the nervous system. They'll lie dormant for a few years. As you get older, your immune system starts to dampen a little bit. They wake up, they attack your brain, they attack your spinal cord. And doctors don't know this stuff. They don't look at it. Cytomegalovirus, this is herpes 5. Often goes undiagnosed. Virus remains with you for life, but it's not always active. CMV goes through cycles of periods of dormant and active. And this is typically the life cycle of how viruses are. Okay? If you're healthy, it remains dormant. Transmission of the virus occurs through exposure to body fluids, blood, urine, saliva, tears, breast milk, semen, and vaginal fluids. These viruses are so tiny they can actually pass right through a condom. So somebody could sneeze out in the hallway and you could have respiratory droplets floating around. You could walk right into it and breathe it right in. Right out of the Cleveland Clinic. Oh, it's doing it again. All right. So, you'll know you have this virus because of some symptoms that will show up if it's active. A high fever over 101, muscle weakness, fatigue, shortness of breath, blood and stools. That way we'll know you have a stomach or a colon infection. Low white blood cell count, arthritis pains, blurry or loss of vision. Why? These viruses attack nerves. They love to attack the optic nerve. And again, they're attacking the brain. Seizures, headaches, confusion. If you have headaches, sometimes if you spend too much time out in the sunlight and you have a bad headache that makes your head feel like it's going to explode and your joints hurt worse and things like that, what you've likely done is brought life to this virus. What's going to bring life to these? CMV and Epstein-Barr live in the liver. That's key to remember. They both live in the liver. They stay there and they stay dormant. What's going to bring life to these guys? If you block that liver pathway, we all have a remarkable detox pathway in our liver gallbladder area. And this literally grabs toxins we're exposed to. It grabs the pollution we're breathing in, the chemicals, and all the stuff in the food and everything else. And it will make these waters soluble, and you will pass these out if it's working appropriately. Tiffany and I are extremely aggressive about our detox pathways. If there's one thing you want to do in this life to keep yourself healthy, keep this pathway open. I have seen kids go out and play on the soccer field, teenagers, and their nose starts running because there's, cottonwood and things like that. And their mom gives them a Claritin. They run out there on the soccer field. They're playing all day, and they come and they sit down, and they're just shaking. And the mom says, "What's wrong with my kid? Why is he like that?" "Well, what'd you do?" "I gave him a Claritin." You've just turned off his detox pathway, and he's absorbed all the chemicals they sprayed out on the lawn. Now those are in him. We had another story with a painter a while back. He came in. He could tell his cognitive ability was just dropping. His wife said, he's not a dumb man. He's a very intelligent man, but he's dumb now. Something's happened. He's a lot, every time, Should I ask him a question? What? That's how he acts. So we did hair follicle test on this gentleman. He was full of heavy metals. And I found out he was a painter. And I said, "Well, do you take anything?" "Well, yeah, every time I start painting, my nose starts running uncontrollably. So I take a Benadryl and it stops it." The reason why your nose is running is because your detox centers are flooding that and keeping that stuff from absorbing in you. You block your liver pathway, you let that stuff right in. You block your liver pathway, you're going to fuel infections inside your body to start growing. You're going to fuel cancer cells to start growing because you've just knocked out your major detox center. What blocks that pathway? Antacids, steroids, all your ibuprofen, aspirin, Motrin, Tylenol, antihistamines. We just kind of talked about those. Those are really bad. Antidepressants, vaccines, blood transfusion, statins, pain medications. Interestingly enough, what keeps that liver pathway open more than anything else? Cruciferous vegetables. Kale, broccoli, Brussels sprouts. I don't eat near enough of that, so I take a supplement that gives me about 40 servings with, and I'm good for the day.
What kind of vegetable did you say?
Cruciferous. Broccoli, kale, Brussels sprouts, things like that. So this is important too. What else will feed a virus? Foods high in arginine. Anyone in here get headaches after eating chocolate? I had a lady come to me the other day and she asked, "Why do I have food intolerances for peanuts?" And I said, these are high in arginine, and what you're doing is you're eating high arginine foods, and you are fueling that virus and waking you up inside your head. Now what we're going to do is Tiffany's going to change out the battery in the camera. If you guys want to do a quick restroom break, we're going to take a pause for about 2 minutes, okay? But look at these list of foods here.
You just mentioned Brussels sprouts, so the cruciferous, I put up here, it says Brussels sprouts is a,
High arginine food.
yeah.
It gives you, it has that smell too whenever you have Brussels